Money is as much emotional as it is financial. When you think about money, what emotions come up for you? How does your current financial situation make you feel? Is it happy, anxious, worried, embarrassed, abundant, not enough, exciting, or perhaps you feel nothing? You're completely detached from your money. The reason understanding your money emotions is so important is they drive our financial decision making. And what these emotions can do is derail our best laid financial plans or intentions. So, to help you understand how we navigate making financial decisions, I want to share with you a little bit of neuroscience or study of the brain. And to do that, I'm just going to share a slide with you, which shows it in more of a diagram. So before we do that, I just want to let you know that this is general advice only. I'm not here to give you any financial advice. It's more about education. So now I want to give you a quick tour of our brain. So we have three main elements of our brain. As when we were evolved as a species, humans, we had this first part of our brain, which was our instinctive or primitive part of our brain, very physiological. And the whole purpose of this part of our brain, this instinctive, primitive part of our brain, was to keep us safe, and it was wired for desire. So in terms of keeping us safe, it's constantly looking out for dangers or threats. And dangers or threats are things that are uncertain to us, that are unknown. So our brain is constantly wanting to keep us safe and keep us secure. And it does this by thinking that whatever we are used to in terms of how we were raised is what's comfortable and what's understood and safe. So this instinctive part of our brain is very quickly responsive, like 0.15 seconds, it reacts. And so there's no thought process. It's very just kind of like fight, flight, or freeze. And when it comes to protecting us and keeping us safe, back a long time ago when we grew up in tribes, part of keeping us safe was what? Keeping us with our tribe, keeping us safe, feeling like we belong. But if you fast forward, that brain is still active in today's environment, but we don't really have those fears or dangers that we had before, like woolly mammoths or fires or floods that are very dramatic and are a threat to our safety. However, this part of our brain still takes up 20% of our decision-making process. So as we evolve and grow up, we develop the limbic system part of our brain, and this is between the ages of 2 and 20-ish. And here, if we think of our brain like a computer, and we've got the hardware of our computer and we've got the software of our computer, all of those events that we experience growing up, and especially around money, formed files, and these files get saved and stored in our limbic system, or our unconscious emotional part of our brain. So depending on how you were raised and how you experienced money growing up, typically from the ages of 2 to 12, a lot of your emotions that you feel about money would have been stemmed, or the origin has come from your childhood. So whether that be fear or embarrassment, anxiety, abundance, not enough, all of these experiences that you had and the emotions that were the outcome of those are stored in your brain. Even today, they can be driving your decision-making process. Have you ever felt like, you get really emotionally reactive or triggered by something that's happening today, and your body really reacts to it? It gets very emotional. What the brain's actually doing is it's picking up one of these files that are stored in your limbic system, bringing it out and playing it today in the current day scenario, which doesn't always bode well for our finances. And then we have the last part of our brain to form, which isn't fully formed until about 24, 26 years old. This part of our brain is slower thinking. It is more considered and rational. It looks at long-term consequences, as opposed to that instinctive part of our brain. It's like you hunt, you eat, you sleep, rinse and repeat. This conscious part of our brain is more looking at the long-term future and different consequences and pros and cons. So now that you're aware of these three different parts of our brains and the way that they take over the processing of how we make our decisions, when we're making financial decisions, which part of our brain do you think we should be using? The instinctive, the emotional, or the conscious? So if you answered the conscious part of our brain, you'd be right. That is where we want to be making our financial decisions, not from that instinctive, primitive, fear-based, and not from the emotional part of our brain that is quite often hardwired to things that we experience growing up, which may or may not produce healthy financial outcomes or habits. We want to be using that thinking part of our brain. So the reason that I'm sharing this video with you is we're heading towards Christmas season, and it can be a really emotional time of year. So I want you to really think clearly and consciously about when you're making financial decisions around Christmas time. Just ask yourself, which part of your brain are you using to make that decision? Even just asking yourself the question of, which part of my brain am I using to make this financial decision? And we make financial decisions, multiple decisions every day, day after day. Ask yourself, which part of my brain am I using? And just doing that process, you're actually moving from instinctive, you're moving up through your emotional, and you're accessing your conscious thinking part of your brain just by asking that question. So I hope you found this video useful, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.